Most astonishing. Today we investigate a territory we undoubtedly cannot even see.
Greetings! I'm Rodger Newbold. I'm the host for the Experienced Photographer's video podcast episode number 59 in today's presentation. My partner, great friend and tremendous photographer, and the editor for this episode is Mr. Matt Rich. My friend, are you in stealth mode today? Where are you? What are you doing? Tell us.
I'm here. I don't know what you mean by stealth mode.
Excellent. By request, this is an actual request that came in, we venture into making photographs of items our natural eyes cannot even comprehend. That indeed offers a stiff challenge to all anxiously engaged in picture taking. Let's see if we can clarify, or at least attempt to visualize, what's taking place here today. Each color of light has a different wavelength, with violet being the shortest and red being the longest. Visible light is measured in nanometers, little nm. And the rainbow spectrum of light that we can see goes from about 380 nanometers clear over to about 700 nanometers in the red area of this spectrum. Take a look at this chart. Now, just a quick note, even the scientific community does not completely agree on the exact wavelength range that we can see. No, plus or minus 1 or 10 or whatever, I don't know. Therefore, I'm not going to give you a test on these numbers. Suffice it to say that beyond the visible spectrum, to the left is ultraviolet, UV, and to the right is infrared, the range of light. Now, some creatures can see UV or IR. However, we mere mortals cannot do so. So this next chart points out the tiniest sliver of light that we're actually able to perceive. As witnessed by these charts, we see that the electromagnetic spectrum covers an enormous amount of ground. However, humans only perceive a tiny shard of the entire presence. Now, Sir Frederick William Herschel, a German-born British astronomer, discovered infrared light in 11 February 1800. He was using a variety of colored filters to view sunlight, and he observed that some colors passed more heat than did other colors. Herschel hypothesized that the colors themselves may have actually produced a different temperature and set out to test his theory. Directing sunlight through a glass prism, he was able to produce a spectrum, and he measured the temperature of each color with a thermometer, from violet to red. Now, as he did so, he found that the temperature increased. Herschel then decided to measure the temperature beyond the red-colored light, where there was no sunlight being seen. The area that had the highest temperature reading of all. Despite being invisible to the naked eye, he named this radiation colorific rays. However, nowadays, we call it infrared. The word infra is a Latin prefix meaning below, and radiation is below red in terms of high frequency. Now, in World War I, infrared photos made it easy to spot railroads and rivers, etc. In 1910, the American physicist named Robert Williams Wood sensitized his own photographic plates and produced the first known infrared photographs from various scenes. Now, these pictures were published in the Royal Photographic Society's October 1910 journal. Wood's pictures were taken using experimental film, which required very long exposures. Although Wood sensitized his own plates and took infrared pictures in 1910, infrared film only became commercially available in 1930, when Kodak developed an emulsion that was actually sensitive to infrared light. 33 types of black and white infrared film were available from 5 different manufacturers by 1937. It was in big use. Now, in 1975, Steve Sasson, an engineer for Eastman Kodak, invented the first digital camera. The camera captured 0.1 megapixel picture in black and white only and saved them to a digital cassette tape. Now, not only did the camera produce low-quality pictures, but it also weighed 8.5 pounds and took 23 seconds to record a photograph onto the tape. For that reason, it was useless, at least to most people. However, it led to a whole batch of new discoveries. With the current luxury of producing a digital image, it became simple to build a sensor which could easily capture infrared areas of the spectrum. Almost overnight, IR film faded from the marketplace, and Kodak ceased its production in 2007. In 2024, there are few IR films left. Conversely, the application and uses for IR imagery have skyrocketed. You know, medically, militarily, astronomically, forensics, the botanicals, all have taken huge advantage of this technology. Presently, we are interested in using IR as a medium of fine art that most have not even ventured into. Therefore, the opportunities are ripe. What are the unique characteristics of infrared film? Well, Kodak's infrared was called HIE. It possessed some distinctive traits that set it apart from other infrared films, quite apart from its extended sensitivity that went beyond our seeing at 750 nanometers, clear up into the 1000 nanometer range. But notably, this film lacked, it did not have an anti-haliation layer. That's the gray or pink background layer on the film. Now, this layer that prevents light from reflecting back from the base of the film or the pressure plate of the camera. Without this layer, infrared film can produce intriguing halo-like effects around bright areas in your photograph. So that's one thing that film did. This effect is also known as blooming or flare. These quirks added a touch of unpredictability and uniqueness to images. This can be duplicated in digital post-production. However, if your pressure plate is not smooth, you can get some rather undesirable dimpled spots on your images that are hard, or if not impossible, to eliminate completely. my Canon had a very smooth pressure plate that held the film. But there were cameras that had a little waffle pattern or dimple pattern, and you couldn't get rid of these. One way of combating that was to take the background paper from a roll of 120 film and stick it to the pressure plate, creating a smooth surface so it didn't have the dimpled effect. Now, in HIE film, there are some drawbacks that you should be aware of. It had a fairly coarse grain structure, much coarser than a typical 400 speed film, say, like Tri-X. It is relatively low in resolution, which means it can lose detail rapidly and sharpness if not properly enlarged. I have seen one of the most gorgeous enlargements of a band of wild running horses in about a 60-inch print. It was unrecognizable from about 2 feet viewing distance from the picture. But once I got back, it was absolutely stunning at 10 feet because of this humongous grain that IR film had. Therefore, IR film was not a film for everybody, but rather those who appreciated the challenges and its charms. Now, solvent-type film developers like D76 or Ilford ID11 contained a lot of sodium sulfite, which slowly ate away at the grain structure, leaving a much softer image for those who care about that kind of treatment. What I used was Rodinol. It was an AGFA product. It's still available. It contains no such additive and delivers a crisp, sharply grained image for those who preferred that very snappy look. But again, in digital, hey, post-production, you can make either effect. You can do what you want. Take a look at this territorial style house captured in infrared. What are the artistic effects that can be achieved with infrared film? Well, infrared film includes a new dimension to your photography, transforming ordinary scenes into captivating otherworldly landscapes. The sky takes on these really mysterious dark tones. Foliage appears bright and almost surreal. Buildings adopt a more deep, dramatic look. And people, they almost seem ghostly in infrared images. The way the surface reflects the infrared light. Now, I found that using IR film totally eliminated things like red pimples and other body blemishes. Eyes were translated as coal black orbs, and veins, they stood out like a winding road map, generating surprisingly interesting impact. These effects combined to create a surreal and intriguing atmosphere that can capture the imagination of viewers. Infrared film offers a fresh perspective on the world around us by revealing what the naked eye cannot see. It invites us to explore new avenues of beauty and artistic expression. Now, whether you're an experienced photographer or just a beginner, experimenting with infrared images can really be an exciting journey into the realm of hidden wonders and uncharted creative possibilities. Take a look at this picture, dead black branches with a live white aspen tree behind it. Whew. I saw this. It looked like nothing. I brought my camera up in live view and I saw what it was in infrared. I was knocked out. So how do I get mine? For those still using film, there are a few manufacturers out there that are cranking it out. I want to desperately point out one sad lesson learned. Now, the instructions with infrared film they state explicitly to handle and load the film in a camera in subdued light. Well, this is secret code for do it in the dark, dummy. I kid you not. Since the emulsion is coated on a transparent base and it doesn't have that layer backing on it, the light striking the base film leader light pipes down the base, just like fiber optic. It renders the next several frames absolutely useless. So I go in a fully darkened room to load and unload the film. And when you're working with it, keep the film as cool as possible. Now, Rolly is one who provides infrared film, and others can be found online. As can be seen in these two charts, infrared left and normal film on the right, the photo response is nowhere near the same, but they're totally different. Great care must be taken when using IR because of these huge gaps in between color responses. Now, film always presented us with an astonishment after the development cycle. Ooh, did I take that? But IR was sort of like a big giant clown. He just stuck his tongue right out in your face. It was kind of a big surprise. Digital IR with live view helps you get past that sadistic cycle. Because of the odd gaps in IR, focusing the camera can be a legitimate concern. Now, many lenses sport a very small red dot on the lens barrel. Once you've achieved visual focus, looking through the camera and getting everything right, say maybe 12 feet away, simply readjust the focus manually, putting the 12-foot mark on the little red dot. That compensates for the difference in focus in infrared. Now, some of the sensor modification providers, if you're doing this in digital, will adjust your sensor for one of your most used lenses. Now, you are going to have to deal with other lenses as needed. In our vlog episodes 36 and 37, we discussed how to determine if your camera could see an infrared signal. So please review those two and see if it's capable of receiving IR. If so, then you may be able to use a filter on the front of your lens to gather in the IR wavelengths. Say a Hoya R70 or R72, or the Helipan makes a 695 filter or an RG830, and they'll do the same trick. The only problem, they reduce your exposure by about 13 stops. So be prepared for shutter speeds of a fortnight at f11 at ISO 400. I kid you not. It makes for long shutter speeds. Now, testing and primarily shooting can be conducted with filters. If you really want to pursue the look, what a digital corrected sensor may do, this is the way to go. Test it with the filter and see if you like it. With a digitally corrected sensor, your exposure times are absolutely normal. Really a good thing. The digital images will be saved to your camera card, but they will have a bright purple infrared hue. Now, this must be corrected in post-production by simply adding a black and white layer above the captured layer, and then you proceed normally, just like a black and white image. Well, how do I get this look if I only want to use regular images? This may be the easiest method of all. Bring your normal image into Photoshop and open it. Now feel free to make all your desired changes, either before or after this next step. But step 2 is create a new fill or adjustment layer. What you have to do is click the little half black, half white circle at the bottom of the layers palette in Photoshop. Now you add a black and white adjustment layer, activate that layer by clicking on it, and then go to the preset menu at the very top and select infrared. And there you take a standard image and made it look infrared. Works pretty good. Now, let's look at how the time of day affects infrared. In regular color photography, the same time of day affects the mood and the exposure and the setting of your camera to a great deal. For example, sunrise and the so-called golden hour are specific time frames that have been really popular with photographers for generations. And they come with their own set of appropriate techniques and skills to master. Now, scratching my noggin, I must say, with infrared, the same holds true. New techniques, something you're going to have to learn. However, the distinct effects of changing hours on exposure are totally different and sometimes contradictory to what you thought you would expect from visible light. For example, the kind of direct sunlight you get during midday hours surrounding high noon can completely ruin your shot in general photography. In IR, noon is actually a good time to shoot because there's more IR out there. You know, this really makes the rest of your day really more relevant. You can shoot at any time of day by having two bodies, one IR and one regular. It's stunning. I love it. Now, this is because the concentration of available infrared is at its peak during the main time of the day, and even allow you to do some handheld shooting if you're lucky. A second benefit is IR does not perceive dust, smoke, or smog. Oh, I love the fact that Matt and I were shooting in an area. It was a forest fire nearby, and this little valley was totally swamped with smoke. Pick up the IR camera body, clear as a bell. Beautiful. The possibilities, oh, they're wonderful. The usual problem with washed out subjects and lack of contrast and shadows also doesn't exist in IR. At this time. Or rather, they do exist, but in different ways. So an ounce of prevention can help. What I do is bracket your exposures by at least one stop on both sides of what you deem as normal. This way you should obtain detail throughout the image, shadows and highlights, and it may allow you to composite an image if it doesn't capture it in one frame. Just a tip. Other times of day, such as late evening or even dark nighttime, will yield very different results, greatly affecting color rendition with color IR film or digital sensors to do this. Always something new to try and learn, so have some fun. Can I shoot IR in color? Well, as far as I'm aware at this point, color IR film is no longer produced for general sale. Now, if you do some giant search on the web, you might find that to be different. However, there are some sensor suppliers who will build a digital sensor capable of seeing IR color. And you can choose those, and it's really nice. Go into the people who make digital sensors in IR and take a look at their ads. Since the camera sensor filtration needs to be completely changed, you must be willing to devote an entire camera body to your shooting solution. Can get a tad bit expensive to have three, one for black and white, one for infrared, one for infrared color, but it's possible. Remember, this is somewhat costly, and you need to consider it carefully. I warn you, once you start, though, you're going to be just like a little kid with an absolutely new toy, and it is spectacular, and it's a lot of fun. Now, there are probably a bazillion questions swirling about right now, and feel free to leave a comment or ask for more help. I hope that I filled today's request adequately. Now, back over to you, my friends. Does it make sense? Can you seek the possibilities of the invisible? Can you imagine the final image as it struggles to find you? Will any of these steps help your creativity? Well, I sure hope so. I hope there are days when your camera reacts like magic and your post-production work just spins with delight and the sky reaches down and touches your soul. I hope your days are filled with love. Well, our time has elapsed for today. Go please make a new friend. Share this with them. Go out and photograph with greater abandon. Try some new techniques. Try getting some new looks. Subscribe to our channel and give us a big thumbs up. You know, seek the impossible, our friends. You will never be disappointed. Matt and I salute you, and we thank you for watching this episode. Until we meet here again, a tip of my hat to you.